It has gone through many cycles, John and Tanya, and it will likely continue to be like that as it gets closer to South Florida, moving very close to Andros now in the Bahamas, and you can see that it's just flaring up and then dying off with the convection. There's another area that's been tapping into that. A lot of people have been talking about this on social media. There appears to be a second storm to the east. It's not a second storm, but it is tied, obviously, to the center of circulation of this, and it is holding together at the same time. It's been around for about almost 24 hours now, but the main center that is moving around to Andros and through the Exumas will eventually work into the Florida Straits and have an impact here. Now, how bad is it going to be for us? Well, on the current track, down the line track, the storm stays just offshore, which is much better than even the forecast last night that had a storm just a few miles off the Jupiter Inlet, about 4 to 5 miles off. Now it is pretty much 20, 25 miles off the coast. I really don't think even at 5 o'clock with the new advisory that we're going to see much of a change in that track philosophy. Some of the models bring it in closer to South Florida, some of them keep it offshore, but it's so disorganized at this point, even though it is a Category 1 hurricane, it's so disorganized that the strongest winds could easily be well away from the center. They don't necessarily need to be at the core. And typically with this hurricane and the history of it for the last few days, the strongest winds have been on the north side and the east side and not on the west side of the track. So that works in our favor. The forecast track takes it and parallels it along the Treasure Coast on Sunday. I think our peak winds and rainfall will be late tonight and overnight and into Sunday for the Treasure Coast before it starts to pull away and move up the east coast after that. The computer model tracks again kind of all over the place, but there is some consensus just off the coastline and then moving north. The European model, which comes out in the afternoon, which is coming out right now, indicates a parallel and perhaps a landfall briefly on the Treasure or the Space Coast. Either way, it's very in line with what those models are showing right there in the official forecast track. The hurricane warning for the Treasure Coast and for coastal Palm Beach County showing up in red, and obviously the offshore waters. Tropical storm warning for inland Palm Beach County, so that's west of 441. That includes Wellington and Loxahatchee, and tropical storm warning for Okeechobee County and around the lake. So tropical storm warning means tropical storm conditions can be expected. Hurricane warning conditions may be experienced, although there is a very slight chance for hurricane force winds to reach the coast. I would say less than 10% in most cases. Really, it's a tropical storm force winds, and I expect as the storm moves through on overnight and tomorrow that we'll experience our strongest winds after midnight through sunrise in Palm Beach County and then on the Treasure Coast through the early morning hours. And you can see there's a large swath here of tropical storm force winds, all this yellow area here. So it encompasses most of Palm Beach County early on, later tonight, and then moves up through the Treasure Coast. But the strongest winds, the hurricane force winds, are off the coastline now. Last night at this time, some of them were making it in along the coast and along the beaches, US 1 and A1A. That's not the case now, so they stay just off the coast. But as far as our weather, I suspect we'll see 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, perhaps some wind gusts to 60, and some bands could be a little bit stronger overnight. It's going to be an unsettling night, and I'll promise you that more than likely we'll see some power outages from this. I don't think any kind of widespread damage is likely from this type of storm, especially one that stays off the coastline on the current track. Our probability of seeing tropical storm force winds, you can see about 70 to 80% as we work through the next 24 hours. Hurricane force winds are much, much lower. In most spots, even less than 5%. And in fact, Stuart would be 5% too. I'm not sure why it's popping up at 14, but so very, very low for hurricane force winds. That is 74 miles an hour or stronger. So, there's still a lot of sunshine out there right now. I do expect that the feeder bands will continue to increase, the outer bands working in tonight, overnight it peaks, and it starts to slowly settle down into tomorrow as we get into a situation where it's moving north at that time and starting to improve here. But a new track is coming up at 5 o'clock, and of course we'll have the latest on that for you too.